All right, so here you go. This is your very first actual assignment. The first video, we're just going over the key terms. The second video was deriving where we get the area formula and where we get the circumference formula. We're going to talk about these because there's two of them. But then we are going to actually do all of the odds. So you'll kind of have some practice, some of me teaching, and then you are going to do all of the evens, and you're going to input your answers into the link that takes you to a forms, and you're just going to plug in your answers, and it's going to tell you if they're right or wrong. And so those, I am going to put those in the grade book. All right, so here we go. The area is the amount of space covered by a circle. We use pi r. That says RR. We're going to use pi r squared. I apologize. Y'all change that to a 2. And then circumference, we have figured out, or we discovered that circumference is pi times the diameter, or the diameter times pi, either one. Okay. The reason that there is another circumference formula is because the diameter is 2 radius. So you can take out the diameter and put 2 radius there. And so you can also multiply 2 times pi times r. So for whatever reason, most books that you see, it's 2 times pi times the radius. All it is 2 times the radius times pi. It's the same exact thing. You can choose whichever one you'd like. You can use one every time. You can use the other one every time. Or sometimes problems will ask about diameter versus radius, and you can pick which one you'd like to use. All right, so let's go ahead and start with number 1. The directions are super important for this problem. So it says find the area and circumference of each circle below. Write your answer in 2 different formats, one in terms of pi and the other rounding to the nearest hundredth. Okay, so here we go. So the first thing we have is area equals pi times the radius squared. And we are going to do this 2 times because it asks for 2 different formats. Okay, so the first format, we are going to round pi to 3.14. So the area equals 3.14 times the radius, which is 7, times the radius, which is 7. All right, so get your calculator. 3.14 times 7 times 7. And it says round to the nearest hundredths. So you have the area is about 153.86 millimeters, its area squared. Okay, so this is the estimated answer because 3.14 is rounded. Now, there is an exact answer. So I should have done this in a different color. Area equals pi r squared. Okay, so you're going to use the same formula, except we're not going to round pi. This is super important. We are going to keep pi with the symbol pi. We're not rounding in it. We're keeping it as pi. This stands for the irrational number that never ends, that keeps on going forever. Then you plug in what you can. You know your radius is 7, and you know you need to square it, 7 times 7. So area equals, usually we put pi last when you're doing this, so 7 times 7 is 49 times pi. Now, you have 2 different answers. They look very different. However, their values are equivalent if you estimate 3.14 for pi. So here we go. We're going to, this is just 49 times pi. So 49 times, if we use 3.14 for pi, they're 49 times 3.14, you get 153.86. So these are very close if you estimate pi. Okay, this, however, is not estimated. This is exact. This one's estimated because 3.14 is rounded. So these are your first 2 answers. Now, let's see. Let me get another color really quickly. Okay. Now we got to find circumference. So we're going to do circumference in 2 different ways. We're going to estimate with pi, and then we're just going to use pi. So circumference equals, let's think about which formula we want to use. This circle gives us the radius, so we can use 2 pi times the radius, or we can use pi times the diameter. It's up to you. I'm going to use the one with the radius because they give us the radius. So we have 2 times 3.14 times the radius, which is 7. So we have C equals, and you're going to just plug it all in, 2 times 3.14 times 7. So 43.96. Now, this is just millimeters because the circumference is a straight line if you were to just straighten it out. The area is squared because it's covering a area. There's 2 dimensions technically. All right, so that is the rounded way. Now we need the exact way. So we have circumference equals 2 times the radius, 2 times pi times the radius. All right, so you're going to keep pi. So C equals 2 times pi times 7. And you can really multiply this in any order that you want. If you would like to reorder that, it's equivalent. So C equals 2 times 7 is 14 pi. So this is the exact answer. This is the estimated answer. All right. So let's see if they're equivalent. So we're going to do 14 times, we're going to estimate to 3.14. So we get 43.96. So these, if you were to round pi to 3.14, then your answers are equivalent. The only thing is we don't want to always round pi because sometimes we want an exact answer. All right, so let's go ahead. We're going to do the same exact thing for number 3. All right, so we're going to start off with area equals pi r squared. The only thing here is when they give you the distance all the way across, this is your diameter. We want the radius, which is only half of that. So 18 divided by 2 gives you 9. So your radius for this problem is 9, not 8. You want to make sure that you use your radius in this problem and not your diameter. All right, so the first time we're going to estimate. So area equals 3.14 times 9 times 9. So our area is, let's see, 3.14 times 9 times 9. Let's see if I did that right. For some reason, I think it's wrong. 3.14 times 9 times 9, nope, is 254.34. So 254.34, and we're talking about square inches, so inches squared. All right, so that is the estimated answer. We also want to get our exact answer. Now, for this whole unit, we're not going, there'll be one answer usually per problem. However, I need to teach you both ways right now. So you're going to use the same formula because we're finding area first. Area equals pi r squared. Area equals, we know we want to keep pi as the symbol because we're not rounding it. The radius is 9, so we're going to multiply 9 times 9. We know 9 times 9 is 81, and we're going to keep pi. And if you were to estimate pi as 3.14, multiply it by 81, you would get the same exact answer. And you read this, just the area is 81 pi, or 81 times pi. All right, so we did our area. Now we need our circumference. So circumference equals, now in the last problem, I used 2 pi times the radius because we were doing, because the circle gave us the radius. This time I'm going to do pi times the diameter because it gave us the diameter, okay? You could do both. It doesn't matter. So pi, 3.14, we're going to estimate, times the diameter, which is 18. And then you're going to multiply that. So 3.14 times 18, and you get 56.52. Inches, just inches. This is one dimension. You're drawing a straight line. All right, the last and final part to this problem is we have to find the exact answer. So we're going to use pi times the diameter. Super easy. Pi times 18. And you're not usually going to see it as pi times 18. It's going to be 18 pi. So just for correctness. Alrighty. So same thing for this problem. Even though it's a decimal, you can divide it by 2 to get your radius. So this is the diameter. We need to divide it by 2 to get the radius. So we only want half of it. So the radius is 10.2 divided by 2 would be 5.1 meters. Okay, I really don't think that you need me to go through and give you all these answers. I'm going to pause the video and I am going to actually, I'm just going to give you the answers for this one. So right now, go ahead, you go ahead and pause this video, do them on your own, and then check them with me. All right, so here are your answers for number 5. Because we had decimals here, our numbers were longer than our hundredths place, so we did have to round. So remember, 67 is what we're trying, is the number that we have. To round it, we look behind it. So we're going to use that 1. 1 doesn't round 7 up, so we keep it a 7. For our circumference, we got 30, when we estimated, we got 32.028. The hundredths place would be 0.02. That 8 does round the 2 up to a 3, so it was 0.03. All right, so we're going to go ahead and do number 7. So number 7 says, find the radius of a circle that has a circumference of 200.96 feet. So a way that you can tell if they used the exact formula or if they rounded through pi is 3.14 is if there's pi there or not. See, in this one there's pi, so they kept pi as pi. Here they didn't, there's no pi, so they used 3.14. So we're given our circumference. So you need to go ahead. So sometimes people get a little confused with this one. So what you're going to do is you need to go ahead and write out your formula for circumference, and we're solving for the radius. So I'm going to use the radius version. So circumference equals 2 times the radius times pi, or 2 times pi times radius, whatever order. All right, then you're going to fill in what you know. This time we don't know the radius, we know the circumference, so we're going to fill in the circumference. So your circumference is 200.96 is equal to 2 times the radius times 3.14, as we know that this is estimated because there's no pi in it, so we're going to go and do that. All right, so there's a few ways you can go about this. You can multiply these two numbers together first. Or you could divide twice. I'm going to go ahead and multiply them. So we end up getting 200.96 is equal to 2 times 3.14 is 6.28. And you're going to bring down your radius. All we did is multiply these two together. We can pretty much combine like terms. And now you have a one-step equation. It's really long because there's a lot of decimals there, but it's really and truly just one-step equation. We're trying to get r by itself, divide by 6.28 on the right, divide by 6.28 on the left. Those cancel. So you have r is equal to, let's see, sorry, what we get. So 200.96 divided by 6.28, and you get 32. So your answer for 7 is 32. Okay, so you're using the same exact formulas, except you're plugging in and you're solving for different parts. Up above on all of these, we're plugging in for pi, we're plugging in for the radius, and solving for the area or solving for the circumference. This time we're just plugging in on the left side of that equation and solving for variables on the right. All right, so you are going to end up doing 2, 4, 6, and 8 on your own. Let's go ahead and go to the back. All right, so number 9. So this is the first one that it keeps pi in there, so we're going to do this one as well together. All right, so it says find the radius of a circle that has an area of 36 pi. So we need to go ahead, since we're solving for area, write our area formula down. So area equals pi r squared. Okay, you know that the area is 36 pi, so you are going to plug in 36 pi is equal to pi times the radius squared. Bring that down. And we're trying to find the radius, okay? So that means we're trying to get this r all by itself, okay? Well, the first thing I want to do is get rid of pi. So if it's being multiplied, because this is pi times, you've got to divide. And if I divide on the right, I need to divide on the left. Now, some of you may be like, what is this pi symbol? Okay, it actually makes things a whole lot easier. On the front, you kind of just put the values together. On the back, these cancel, these cancel. So you know 36 is equal to r squared. And to get rid of a square, you know you have to do the opposite. We've done this 1,000 times in class. The opposite of squaring a number is a square root. Take the square root of the right and the square root of the left. If you have a calculator, you're more than welcome to do this. Square and square root cancel. So you know you have r all by itself. Now, the square root is asking you what number times itself is 36. Well, we know 6 times 6 is 36. So our radius is 6. Okay, so number 2 and 4 were exactly like 1, 3, and 5. So you have enough examples for those. Number 6, 8, and 10 on the back were just like number 7 and number 9. So I believe you have enough examples for those. All right, these last 6 are a little bit more involved. So number 11 says, find the area of a circle with the circumference of 26 pi. Okay, so you're using two different things. So we know we're using our circumference, which is 2 times the radius times pi. And we're using that to find the area, which is r pi. You can do it in whatever order you want, but pi r squared. Okay, so if the only thing that both of these formulas have in common is your radius. So for when you're given the circumference, you're going to have to solve for the radius to end up plugging it in here to solve for the area. So some kids struggle with this just because it's kind of multi-step, but just think about it. If I know the circumference, that means I can solve for the radius. And that's the only thing I need to solve for the area. So you have, anytime you're using, it doesn't matter if it's area or circumference, you need to solve for the radius so you can use one to solve for the other. All right, so let's plug in what we have. So it says our circumference is 26 pi feet. So we're going to plug in our circumference, 26 pi. Bring everything else down. Okay. I like to get rid of pi first just because it's on both sides. You divide, cancels it out. It works really nicely. So then you end up having 26 equals 2 times the radius. Be careful here, this is not the radius squared. So to get r by itself, you divide by 2 on both sides. So you know your radius is equal to 13. Now, that is not your answer. So be very careful here. It doesn't ask what is the radius. It says find the area. So now that we have the radius, we can use it to find the area. So take this, plug it in. So the area equals pi times 13 squared, which would be 13 times 13. 13 times 13 is 169 times pi. Now, there are no directions here with how to keep your answers. So 169 times pi is correct. Or, so this is option number 1 on your answer choice. Or you could estimate it and do 169 times 3.14. So let's see what we get there. Oh, let's try to get some sun. So 169 times 3.14, we get 530.66. So the area is about 530.66 feet squared. So I will take any of these answers. Remember, the radius isn't an answer. It's just the part that we have to actually get the answer. So 169 pi or 530.66 feet squared. Either of these options are the area of this circle. Okay, so I completely forgot that I put all the areas on the left here and all the circumferences on the right. So we're going to go ahead and do one of the evens. I will let you know which problems you need to fill in on the forms whenever we're done here. All right, so number 12. So it says find the circumference. Now we're going to literally do the opposite of this. So it says find the circumference of a circle with an area of 289 pi. Okay, so this time we're just going to start with our area. So area is pi times a radius squared. So you're going to fill in your area. So it's 289 pi equals pi times a radius squared. The really nice thing here is if you divide by pi on both sides, they cancel out. Super nice. So you have 289 equals r squared. Well, to solve for the radius, you have to take the square root to get that square. 89, what am I doing? 89, 289. So those cancel. So I don't have 289 memorized. So 289, take the square root of that, it's 17. So r is equal to 17. Remember, not your answer, but you do need the radius to solve for your circumference. So now we have circumference equals. Now you can start with the diameter times pi, or pi times the diameter. The only thing that you have to remember is that the diameter is going to be 2 of the radius. So that's where that second formula comes from. So you can use whatever one you want. You just have to remember that you're not plugging in 17 here because 17 is not the diameter. All right, so C equals 2 times 17 times pi. 17 times 2 gives you 34. So C is equal to 34 pi if you would like to leave it in exact format, or you can estimate it. 34 times 3.14, which is going to be about 106.76, and what are we using here? Feet. So either answer, 106.76 feet or 34 pi. Either answer is equivalent. Okay, so these next 4 problems are exactly the same as 11 and 12. You may use pi, you may not use pi, or actually here, we'll do one more. I apologize, it's just like class. I changed my mind. All right, so we're gonna do 13. So it says find the area of a circle with the circumference of 131.88 feet. Okay, so here you know that they estimated using pi because they don't have a pi in here. So circumference equals 2 times the radius times pi. I am going to always use this formula when I'm trying to find area because I want to find the radius. I don't want to have to divide later. If you want to divide your diameter by 2 later, you can. All right, so you're going to fill in your circumference. So 131.88 equals 2 times the radius times pi. So now, this is an extra step. If you divide by pi here, you just have to know that you estimated to 3.14. If you want to change it in your equation first, you may want to do that. 131.88 equals 2 times the radius times 3.14. Then go ahead and divide by 3.14. Whichever you prefer. If you just want to start from here and divide by 3.14, knowing that that's what you estimated pi as, you can do that as well. All right, so we have 130.88 divided by 3.14. Goodness gracious, this calculator is 42. So you have 42 is equal to 2 times the radius. Divide both sides by 2. You know r is equal to 21. All right, super important part here because we need the radius to solve for the area. So let's go ahead. Area equals r squared times pi r squared, as long as you're multiplying the pieces together. It doesn't matter the order. So the area equals 21 times pi. Once again, it doesn't matter the format of your answer. So let's see, 21 times 21, or 21 squared. So we have 441 pi would be answer option number 1. If, however, you would like to estimate it, It's an extra step, so most of you probably won't. But if you want to, 441 times 3.14, you end up getting 441 times 3.14. You end up getting 1,384.74. And what are these going to be? Area feet squared. So this could be your other answer. Both answer choices are acceptable. All right, so here we go. You are going to do numbers 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 14, 15, and 16. So what is that? 4 and 4. So you're going to do 8 problems on forms, and there's going to be a link there, and you're going to plug in your answer, and I will be able to see the answers that you plug in. So if you rounded funny or something like that, it's okay. I'll be able to see that later, but you'll be able to, it will tell you if your answers are right or wrong as soon as you submit them. We're going to do one more problem together, and then we're going to be done. So it says, for a circle R with a point L lying on the circle, determine the circumference if RL is 34 units. So first things first, if we're talking about a shape and there's not a shape there, go ahead and draw it. So we need a circle, and circle R means R is the center, because that's how you name a circle, based on the center, and point L lying on the circle, literally anywhere. So they're telling you RL is 34. Well, we know RL is the radius, anywhere from the center to the outside. So all you're going to do is plug it in. So we know the circumference is the diameter times pi, or 2 times the radius times pi. If we know our radius is 34, we can plug it in. And once again, it didn't tell you how to write your answer, so there's 2 options. So you have 2 times 34 is 68. So your exact answer is 68 pi. If you want to multiply that by 3.14, so it would be circumference is 68 times 3.14. You end up getting that it is about, because you're estimating, 213.52. And what were we talking about here? Units. And this will be units as well. All right. So these are your 2 answer choices. So as long as you have your formulas in front of you, this should be pretty easy. And don't forget, it's pi r squared. I don't know why I didn't notice that earlier. Remember, if you have any questions, please email me. If you want, or message me on Remind. I'm literally checking them at all hours of the night, for the most part, all throughout the day. Last thing, I don't know if I said this. I know I said it on one of the previous videos. You do not have to print these worksheets out. I'm not going to ask for you to send me these worksheets. I know some of you don't have a printer. I don't know if you can tell, but like my black is starting to fade. So I totally get it. You can just get out a piece of paper, do the problems on there. That's why I'm kind of giving the forms option, so you can just plug in some of your answers and we don't have to worry about sending worksheets, taking pictures, and all of that. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. I miss you guys. This would be so much easier if we were in class. But have a good day, and I will upload some more videos later.